What's happening, you guys? So today I want to do a short review of The Last of Us parts 1 and 2. I played both these games recently. As soon as the remake of the first game came out, I just played them both. I binged through them and I want to talk about these two amazing games a little bit. So I'm gonna start by talking about the gameplay, and then I'm gonna talk, I think, a lot about the story. There's a lot to say about the story. Good stuff. At which part there will be spoilers, a lot of spoilers. I'm gonna spoil the hell out of this game, and I'm gonna give you a warning before I do. So let's start with the gameplay. The gameplay of this game is addictive and cool and fun. Pretty much perfect, I guess you can say. One of the things that I loved and I can really mention is the apocalyptic atmosphere that you can feel. In one word, there's a lot of scarcity. Scarcity, okay? When you go around looking for resources, there are not many to be found. You look at a lot of places and you find nothing, which is cool. It makes you feel like you really are in a post-apocalyptic world where there isn't much stuff left to be used. A lot of the stuff that were left was already scavenged by other people. You have to get by with a small amount of bullets. Every time you get bullets, it's like, 2-3 bullets. So you never have a lot of ammunition like in other games. You usually don't have a lot of resources, which is cool, which really gives you that feeling of scarcity in a post-apocalyptic world. So that is one thing that they did that is really cool. Now, the gameplay can get rather stressful, which is what it's supposed to do. It's a zombie game, so be ready to always be like jumped and surprised and whatever, but that's part of the fun. That's just what this game is supposed to do. The stealth in the game is fun and somewhat challenging. The difficulty of your foes is such that you need to understand when to use stealth, when you want to go head-to-head combat, whether you're fighting zombies or humans. So you need to be good at stealth, you need to be good at combat, you need to know what you're doing, you need to utilize your weapons, your equipment correctly, and that is awesome. Games that are too easy that you can just do whatever you want and you'll be fine either way, they're not fun. We don't like those games. Now, of course, the game looks amazing, the characters, the faces. When the characters express any emotions, the faces just look really amazing and compelling, better than real actors somehow. I noticed in general that is one thing that Naughty Dog excel at, expressing emotions. They also excel at stories, which I'll talk about later. The game provides you with proper challenge, proper variety of activities. What I'm saying goes for both games. In the second game, they made it a little more, there's a little area where there's an actual map, they provided you with a little more options for exploration, which is nice. Generally speaking, both games are really fun and addictive, and the gameplay is pretty much perfect. Now, the story of these games, wow, the story. Another thing that, as I said, Naughty Dog excel at, the story of both games. Obviously, the second game is a sequel story-wise. The story of both games is, wow, phenomenal. Just an awesome story. It's better than most movies or TV series. And there is a series done based on the game, The Last of Us by HBO, which I've watched. It's actually hard to tell if it's good or not when you're that thoroughly spoiled. Like I came to the show, I watched the show straight after finishing playing both games, so I've been very thoroughly spoiled for this show. But okay, it's a good show, and the game is better. Video games actually give creators another medium to tell stories. There are movies, which are pretty limited. You have just a limited amount of time to tell your story. You have TV series, which you have more options. You can use more characters. You can familiarize your audience better with each character, get people more attached, use a deeper story, more details. And then there are games where your audience is actually inside the story, so it needs to be done differently, but it's an amazing way to tell a story. And the story of these two games is, wow, it's so good. And it's really important to me. I'm very judgmental about stories. So this is your spoiler alert, you guys. From now on, I'm going to be talking about the story. So what they've done amazingly, which is a big challenge, is that they are really good at creating gray characters. It's a big challenge, and a lot of creators mess it up big time. It's not easy to make a good gray character. So the first game, you got Joel, who lost his daughter at the beginning of the game, just watch her die in his arms after she got shot by a soldier. And then 20 years passed, and he's this real badass. He's really good at being a badass, smuggler, outlaw type sort of. And he meets this other girl, which at the beginning, he has a hard time connecting to her. He probably does not allow himself to connect to the girl too much because he's probably the kind of type who is very careful about who he's letting himself get attached to after what he's been through. And of course, eventually, after the whole journey that they go through, he gets really attached to her and she becomes like his daughter again. And then at the end of part 1, Joel makes a decision, which is an absolutely horrible, like the ultimate crime, the ultimate sin, like arguably one of the worst decisions a character has ever made in a story. And we can understand him. That's the good part. He's lost his daughter now. He has someone to fill that place emotionally for him, and she's about to be taken from him again. But this time, he has the opportunity to save her, and he chooses to take this opportunity. Because you can imagine that when something this horrible happens to someone, the incident sort of replays again and again in their heads and sort of become a part of who they are, forever. And it's one of those things where I imagine you just want to get into that memory, that picture that's playing in your head, and change something. You just want to jump in there and do something differently and make the outcome different. Make that thing that cost you all that sorrow, all those years, take it back, make it different. So he actually has an opportunity to do that. But to use that opportunity, meaning preventing the cure for all mankind, which Ellie was more than willing to sacrifice herself for. And that is, wow, that is a decision for a character that, it blows my mind. It's amazing. I just love stories like that allow you to connect to a character psychologically in this way. You learn to love Joel. You're connected to Joel throughout the game, throughout the story. He's like your main hero. And then in the end, you can understand that whole thing that I was talking about. He's sort of given an opportunity to relive the most painful moment in his life and to come out with a different result, but with those absolutely catastrophic consequences of that decision. And he makes it an absolutely amazing, great character. Again, it's not easy to create a good and believable, great character. So that is shortly what happens in part 1. And then we have part 2, which is also done phenomenally. Again, they double down and create those amazing, great characters throughout the story. So this game is divided to 2 parts. First half of the game, you're playing with Ellie. The other half of the game, you're playing with Abby, who is the villain of the first half of the game. So that is really, really cool. This is absolutely awesome. At the first half of the game, you are hunting down Abby to get revenge for killing Joel. The death scene of Joel is, of course, absolutely amazing. A lot of gore, really powerful scene, really emotional scene. They make Abby and her team look like absolute villains. You sort of understand why they did it. You assume why they did it. And then you hunt them down with Ellie's character, and you're connected to Ellie and her friends and her cause. Beautiful. But then the game switches to Abby, the villain, the one who murdered Joel. And then they show you that she was actually the daughter of the doctor who was about to operate on Ellie at the end of the first game and produce the cure for all mankind. So actually they are the good guys, from like an absolute moral point of view, you can say. Those were the good guys who were trying to save mankind. And then came Joel, as I said, and committed the ultimate sin, I guess you can call it. So throughout the second part of the game, they successfully make you feel attached to Abby and her friends and her cause, I guess. So you grow fond and you get connected to those new characters and their story, which you already know that they're gonna die. And now you play with Abby, who is out for revenge against Ellie for what she's done. And this whole game that the game plays with you, this whole moral game of which character is in the rights, which character you feel more connected to, which character you're rooting for. It's absolutely amazing what they did there, and it works. A lot of movies and shows try to do that. They try to sort of play with characters' moralities, now he's good, now he's bad, now he's making the wrong decision, and it doesn't work in a lot of cases. It's not believable. You don't really feel it, it doesn't make sense. But in this story, wow, they've done it absolutely masterfully. Both these games are absolutely amazing. They look amazing. They play amazing. As I said, the gameplay is really engaging and fun and addictive. The stories are absolutely masterfully done, the stories of these games. I'm giving both these games 10. The Last of Us Part 1 and The Last of Us Part 2 both get a 10. Perfect games. I'm not saying they're the best games I've ever played in my life, but they are perfect games in their own genre. So that's it. Basically, I don't have anything negative to say about these games. I usually do have a negative thing or two to say. These games, pretty perfect. I really recommend playing them. Those are my thoughts about The Last of Us Part 1 and 2. If you guys have anything to add, you can write it down in the comment section. Like this video, share this video. Have a great day, and I'll see you guys later.